Hello everyone and welcome to today's video where we're going to be analysing the rhythm in Badinerie. So when we say what is a rhythm or what are rhythms, the answer is the placement of sounds in time. And you're probably still thinking, well, what does that mean? Well, let me show you. So in music we use notation, just like this. We have rhythms, and these rhythms tell us how long or how short we play a note. So therefore, when we're actually analysing the rhythms, we are actually looking at what type of rhythms are being used, how they're grouped together. We're also looking for patterns that happen in the music in terms of the rhythm. And that's what we're going to be looking at how Bach has used these to create the piece of music which is Badinerie. So let's look at the motifs again. Let's look at these motifs. So we had motif X and motif Y. Now if we look at motif X and we just look at the rhythms that he's using, you may notice that there's a pattern. And Bach is using this rhythm. He's using this rhythm 3 times. If we were to deconstruct this rhythm, it would look like this: a quaver and 2 semiquavers. So this rhythm is extremely important because not only will we hear it throughout the piece, it features so heavily in motif X. When we look at motif Y, we may notice certain differences in terms of the rhythm. However, we also notice that there is a pattern emerging, and we start to see this rhythm grouped into 4s. If we were to deconstruct it, we can see it's 4 semiquavers. So looking at motif Y, we start to notice, again using the 4 semiquavers that he's repeating 3 times, we actually have this rhythm which is the semiquavers. Now if we look a bit further into the motifs, we might remember that Bach also modifies motif X and motif Y. So if we were to look at the basso continuo, which uses a motif X but also modified, you may notice that he's actually repeated this quaver and semiquaver rhythm, or using the semiquavers. So what we can start to see already is how important this rhythm is, how important the semiquavers and the quavers play in this piece. Let's compare it to the original. So you might remember it is quaver and 2 semiquavers and it ends with a crotchet. However, he has modified it, he's changed it. Let's look at motif Y, modified. Again, we may notice that he has changed it from 2 quavers, he's ending it with 4 semiquavers. And I think what's really important to note here before we move on is this piece of music is built on semiquavers and quavers and how important they feature in the rhythm. Now, when we get to section B, he does introduce a new rhythm called the demi-semiquavers. This is how one of them looks. It's 1/8 of a crotchet. In the piece of music, we actually see them grouped in 4s. So we can see it here, grouped in 4s. Now, these are all 1/8 of a note. If we were to add them together, it would actually equal half a beat. So we've got to play these 4 notes in the space of either 2 semiquavers or a quaver or half a crotchet beat. Now that is very quick. It is one of the quickest rhythms in the piece of music. The demi-semiquaver is the quickest rhythm in this piece of music. So let's see it in context. We can find the demi-semiquavers in bar 33 and 34 in the flute part. So it features in motif X2, which is from here to here, and it also features in Motif Y modified, because now he includes the demi-semiquaver. Let's have a listen to it. Now that quick demi-semiquavers is really an exciting rhythm, and of course introducing it in section B adds a bit of development to the music and also makes it really recognisable for us when we come to do our exam. It also features in bar 38 in Motif X modified. So remember, Motif X is ascending. He has modified it by finishing with the 4 semiquavers. Let's have a listen. So already we can start to understand that this piece of music, Badinerie, is built on quavers, semiquavers, and includes a few occasions, 3 bars with demi-semiquavers, the quickest rhythm in this piece of music. So let's find other rhythmic features. So when we're looking at the rhythm, not only are we looking at the types of rhythm, but we're looking at certain patterns that might be becoming available through our analysis. We might also be looking at how he's organised the rhythms. First and foremost, it's really important to note that the time signature is 2/4. So 2 crotchet beats in a bar. And this time signature is consistent. It never changes. It's throughout the whole of the piece. As we've noted in the motifs, we know that the motifs feature quavers and semiquavers, but we can also see quavers and semiquavers throughout the whole of the score and the string orchestra. Now I've highlighted just a few occasions where the quavers are available and the semiquavers. I would be highlighting everything because let's face it, they are everywhere. One of the most interesting things to notice is the longest value rhythm in the piece is a crotchet. So a crotchet lasts for 1 beat. Again, I've highlighted one particular area where there is a crotchet, but there are other areas as well, you may notice. Again, that's something that's really interesting, that actually a crotchet, in reality, is only 1 beat. But in the context of Badinerie, it is the longest rhythm that we have. It's also really important to note that the rhythms are on the beat. So remember, we're in 2/4, 2 crotchet beats. So that's the beat. And all the rhythms fall on that beat. So if we take the beginning, if we're looking at violin 1, violin 2 and the viola, it's bum, 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 bar. So every note is on the beat, and we can see that even when they're playing the quavers, even when they're playing the semiquavers, everything falls on the 2 beats in a bar. And just put some arrows just to show you how it falls on those 2 beats. We can also comment on the rhythms being regular and constant. That we kind of know that these rhythms, they're not really going to change, and there's a certain pattern happening. And when we talk about patterns in music, quite often we can talk about the word ostinato. So ostinato means a repetition. Now, if we're looking at rhythmic ostinatos, we're looking at where there are patterns of rhythms that are repeating. Now, what I've done at the moment is in red, I have highlighted where those rhythms are. So let's look at violin 2 and the viola. I want you to look at the rhythm, not the notes. So I'm going to clap this rhythm for you, and I want you to notice what's happening. It's practically the same. It's not changing at all, and that is an ostinato, a pretty simple one, not interesting to listen to, just clapping, but that ostinato, that repetition of that rhythm, is constant. It also happens as well in the basso continuo from bar 11. Again, just clapping it. Again, pretty boring, but that repetition of them quavers, that ostinato quaver rhythm that is repeated, and that is a driving force in making this piece energetic and exciting. Those quaver rhythms, and in particular the ostinato quaver rhythms. When we look at section B, again we have that simple ostinato rhythm. So again, I've just highlighted two particular areas where we do see that. So if you look in violin 1, violin 2 and viola, they are just playing one quaver by themselves, followed by a quaver rest. So if I was to clap this, so again, pretty simple, pretty repetitive if we're looking at the rhythm. And again, the basso continuo, again, if we were to just look at the rhythm, not the notes, but just looking at the actual rhythm, the quaver rhythm, and we were to clap it, it would sound like this. So again, that repetition of the quavers, a pretty simple ostinato. Again, something to note that Bach is mainly using quavers and semiquavers again, so we're not really seeing too much variety. But we know that when we get towards the end of section B, we start to have the introduction of a new rhythm, the demi-semiquavers, as we can see here, which then again help to make the piece that bit more exciting. If you remember me talking in section A, I said all the music is on the beat. So it's 2 beats in a bar, 2 crotchet beats in a bar, and all the rhythms fall on the 2 beats. 1, 2, 1, 2. However, there are 3 bars where we would class it as syncopated, or syncopation is used, which means off the beat. So if we look at violin 1, violin 2 and the viola, we can see that it's not actually playing on the beat. We can see the basso continuo is, and the flute is, but if we look at the violin 1, violin 2 and the viola, they're playing off beat, which is syncopation. So if we were to play it, it's not going to be playing on the click, so it goes ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum, bum-bum-bum. So it's playing off the beat, that's syncopation. Again, this is the first time it happens in the piece, and just adds a bit of interest rhythmically to the music. Again, something to note that the longest value rhythm in section B is still a crotchet, which is only for 1 beat. Again, this is something which is in reality a crotchet 1 beat. It's not really long. However, in the context of this piece, it is the longest rhythm, which I've just highlighted in yellow. Again, this is one example because there are a few examples in this piece and in this section. Thank you so much for joining me in today's analysis video of the rhythm. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got much more from it in the analysis, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. See you soon.